Disclaimer. This video is for educational purposes only. I am not your financial advisor. This is not financial advice. Please do your own research before making any investment or using the programs presented in the video.
In the first part of this video, we analyzed a real-life example of a DCA bot that generated over 200% returns on Bitcoin in under 5 months. Today, we'll explore how you can further enhance this setup by changing various bot settings and discuss the trade-offs involved. These enhancements and trade-offs are applicable to any DCA bot you run. The most powerful lever you can pull is increasing the size multiplier of your averaging orders. In the current setup, each averaging order increases by 1.5x compared to the previous one. That means if your first averaging order size is 2, the second will be 3, the third 4.5, and so on. DCA traders use the size multiplier to average down their positions more effectively. The larger each subsequent order, the more influence it has on the average entry price, bringing it closer to the current market price. This increases the chances of the bot reaching its take-profit target. However, the trade-off is that your position size will grow more quickly, requiring more capital to run the bot. The influence that the size multiplier has on the bot is reflected in the distance of your take-profit from the market price at the time of each averaging order execution. In this case, our take-profit is set at 1% from the average entry price. When the bot enters the position initially, the take-profit will be placed at 1% above. However, as the price falls to the first averaging order, your average position price will be higher than the market, as it's now an average of your entry and the first averaging orders. Thus, the distance from the market price to the take-profit will increase as well, and it will keep increasing with each averaging order. In the setup form, right under the take-profit, we calculate and show that distance at the time of the last averaging order execution. Right now, with the size multiplier of 1.5x, you can see that the take-profit will be at 9.4% above the market price when the last averaging order is executed. However, if we increase the multiplier to 1.6x, the distance to the take-profit will decrease to 8.4%. If we increase the multiplier to 2x, that distance shrinks by nearly half to 5.85%. Now, if the 10th averaging order is reached, the price would need to bounce back by less than 6% for the take-profit to be reached instead of the initial 10%. This obviously increases the success rate of the bot and decreases risk. However, the trade-off is that the funds required to cover all averaging orders increase significantly, even with a slight increase in the size multiplier. For example, with our current setup using a 1.5x averaging order size multiplier and 10x leverage, only 85 USDC is needed to cover all orders. However, if we increase the multiplier to 2x, the required funds jump almost tenfold to 737 USDC. By increasing the order size multiplier, we are also unlocking another profitability lever, increasing the take-profit percentage to 1.5% or even 2% if you decide to take the size multiple to 2. Higher take-profit percentage directly boosts the setup's profitability, while the additional price bounce required to hit the take-profit is compensated by the decrease coming from the higher order size multiple. With a 2% take-profit and order size multiple at 2, you will instantly have on your hands an even more profitable setup with arguably less risk. Another way to improve the setup is to explore a more efficient entry strategy, such as using a trailing order to enter the initial position. Currently, we use a simple market order that buys Bitcoin immediately. By switching to a trailing order, we can ensure that the bot will not enter the market while the price of Bitcoin is falling. Considering Bitcoin's relatively low volatility, we can set the trailing distance at 0.8 or 0.7%. Our trailing entry will keep at 0.7% above the market price if Bitcoin is falling and will only enter when the price rises by 0.7%, decreasing your risk. Last but not least, we can add 1 or 2 additional averaging orders. As it stands, the last averaging order will be placed 23% below the initial entry level. However, by adding 2 more averaging orders, we would have an additional 10% of potential Bitcoin dip covered, making the setup safer and more robust. The downside: the bot will require a lot more funds to run. For example, with an averaging order size multiple set to 2 and 10 averaging orders, we would need 740 USDC to run the bot. But if we add 2 more averaging orders, the amount of funds required will rise to 2,600 USDC. To sum up, we've just walked you through our Bitcoin DCA bot that completed over 400 profitable iterations in 5 months, generating a 200% return or 3x the initial investment. We have also shared a few ideas on how you can enhance this setup and discuss the trade-offs involved. And that's all for today. If you have any questions about this setup or are interested in more DCA bot case studies, join our Telegram channel dedicated to DCA bot trading.